Oh my god, you guys, what the f happened to Sonic in Sonic Colors? He went from being a totally confident but not too cocky cool guy one minute to a complete uncaring douchebag the next. The new voice actor who came in to do Sonic from this point on just turned the way past cool voice up to 11 with this one. With just how annoying and how I'm better than you this version of Sonic sounds, I'm pretty sure this is the game that spawned that prototypical over-the-top Sonic voice you hear the Game Grumps using whenever they do their Sonic impersonations. Sonic is completely uncaring of this entire situation here in Sonic Colors. Everything is a bit to him. Everything is a joke. This is all just another day at the office for him, and he is completely unbothered. And it's really annoying. He comes off condescending with just how uncaring he is, and that same lack of care translates to this entire plot line. Sonic and Tails are out in space trying to stop Eggman, and also saving the Wisps. And I'm not kidding you, this entire story, down to every last cutscene, no, every last line of script that at least one of the characters that's on screen spouts, is either some awful meta joke designed to poke fun at the repetitive nature of Sonic the Hedgehog's general storylines, or it's an even more awful regular joke designed to make me laugh? Let me tell you what it really does. I'm not sure who they gave the reins to over at Sega to write the script for this game, but whoever you are, you must have been going through a bad divorce or a midlife crisis or something when you wrote this, because this entire script, every conceivable line spoken by these characters, 100% of the time is complete and utter cringe. The jokes are all terrible, and a lot of them go on for way too long. There are literally multiple cutscenes where Eggman is dishing back and forth with his two slave robots about how one of them glitched out and has a different voice than usual, and this bit goes on for minutes. And it goes on for multiple minutes across multiple cutscenes. Literally, there are so many instances where Sonic and Tails will be on screen, and they will also go off on some grating, unnecessary sidebar that doesn't relate to anything going on in the game, all just to make a funny. A funny that doesn't even exist, because none of this is funny. It's all jokes centered around random, silly humor that absolutely 5-year-olds would get a kick out of, but everybody else, minus maybe Mormons, would squirm in their seat at the sound of. It's obvious from the get-go that Sonic Colors doesn't care about its plot, and while there's nothing wrong with that, it shouldn't drag out its cutscenes with multiple minute-long sidebars where the characters make bad jokes if it doesn't care about the plot. Sonic Colors, from a character and lore perspective, is an embarrassment to this franchise. Sonic, as well as Eggman and Tails, were all victims of poor writing here, and as a result, they are all at their most unlikable, because none of them care, because they all know they're in a video game, because meta, I guess. Sonic Colors, without a single doubt, has the worst plot of any Sonic game ever, from a dialogue perspective, from a character perspective, and tonally, this game is the worst one, hands down. Now, where this game isn't the worst, that is, in actuality, it is actually the opposite of the worst, is pretty much everything else, but more specifically, the gameplay. Sonic Colors might seriously be one of my favorite 3D Sonic games ever, and let me tell you, I've played a lot of 3D Sonic. What I've come to grasp with 3D Sonic, or really just with modern Sonic games in general, is that the more straightforward and less gimmicky they are, the better the final product turns out. And Sonic Colors, minus one minimally obtrusive gimmick, is about as straightforward a 3D Sonic game as you're gonna find. To set the stage here, the setting of Colors takes place in an amusement park set up in outer space, which means we are getting some of the most inventive, some of the most refreshingly original Sonic levels that I've seen in quite some time. You've got a tropical resort, a land made entirely of sweets, an oriental-themed underwater park. I mean, settings like this you just don't see often in Sonic games. Usually you're just getting some remixed version of Green Hill Zone, or Ice Worlds, or mechanical, technological, Eggman Deaths-themed levels, whatever, but nothing even close to this. The sheer originality here is nothing short of unexpected, and it makes you wonder where this level of creativity disappeared to in subsequent games. Oh, and if you're wondering whether or not they decided to bring it with the soundtrack this time around, do me this one favor and give Planet Wisp a listen. You'll thank me later. With the soundtrack this perfect, this immaculate, what more can I even say? I could go in depth about how the various tones and cadences of these masterful musical pieces feed through to create a musical sensation that is borderline orgasmic, or I could just, you know, keep playing them. So the scene is set. We've got amazing worlds to speed through, and we've got a library of infectious tracks to play while we explore. The last remaining question is, can the gameplay match that high bar that's been set by the music and setting? Yes, it can. And it does. What is going on here? Why is Sonic Colors so good? What happened during the production process that led Sega to finally decide, hey, you know what we haven't done in a while? Make a masterpiece. What series of decisions behind the scenes led to this eyesore of an actual quality product being made? Because as far as I'm concerned, the gameplay here is perfect. Sonic moves like a dream, there are no immediately noticeable glitches or bugs, and what we are getting is just classic 2D/3D hybrid Sonic gameplay done at the highest level. There are multiple paths in every level, some faster than others, there are secrets to find, there's that feedback loop where the more you play a level, the faster you can blitz through it and thus can get more of that sweet, sweet adrenaline, and the wisps, which are the aforementioned minimally obtrusive gimmick for this game, are the perfect representation on how a gimmick should be utilized in relation to the base gameplay. Wisps are basically temporary power-ups that allow you to do various cool things like turn yourself into a drill, a ghost, change up certain platforms on the map, stuff like that, and they are implemented periodically in each level. Now, the fear, of course, is that Sonic Colors is supposed to shove these power-ups down your throat at any cost, and make you use them over and over again for every segment of every level. I mean, that's just what you'd expect with a gimmick like this. But no, that's not what happens at all. You really only use the wisps about 45% of the time you're playing the game, and that is the perfect balance. Not only that, but most of the wisps actually complement the speed and momentum focused gameplay by allowing you opportunities to pick up more momentum or to find shortcuts. This right here is what implementing a new gameplay mechanic into your Sonic game is all about, because it doesn't mess with the core functions of the Sonic game. It doesn't force you to do something completely unrelated to Sonic and just change up the gameplay so much to the point where it isn't even really a Sonic game anymore. It just shows up every now and then to complement the speed and momentum side of things, or if nothing else, acts as a brief reprieve from that traditional style. I never once during my playthrough felt like the wisps were overbearing to the core game, and I always found myself actually getting excited to use them, because using the wisps is actually fun, and they actually feed into the exploration aspects of Sonic gameplay really well, because they are really useful in helping you find areas off the beaten path. And each wisp power-up expires after a pretty short amount of time, so it's not like you're being forced to use any one of these across entire chunks of each level for minutes on end. You get a brief window of time to use them, and when you're done, you just slide right back into traditional Sonic gameplay. Rinse, repeat. It's a well-balanced system that works so well in keeping with the fast pace of the base game, while also introducing new elements that don't overstay their welcome and also don't just completely change the gameplay infrastructure to the point that you might as well call it a different game. Sonic Colors is... what the hell is going on? This game is such an anomaly to me, because in my book, this was the game that kicked off the remorseful meta era of Sonic. The era where Sega temporarily gave up on trying to make Sonic anything more than a douchebag with a bag full of snarky one-liners. And the games that followed were either devoid of any sense of originality, or just completely jumped the shark with the core gameplay in an attempt to reinvigorate a dying franchise. While Sonic Colors is easily the worst perpetrator of all this in terms of its plot and character development, it goes so far in making you forget about all that with its masterfully crafted gameplay and level design, and just overall fresh ideas that it injects into its setting. There's no rehash of Green Hill Zone, no attempts to capitalize on nostalgia just yet, no random assortments of differing gameplay styles with 8 different characters not named Sonic it forces you to play as. It's a fresh, creative, new environment that takes what works from previous Sonic games, injects just a smidgen of flavor with the Wisp mechanic, and sends you on your way. And who would have thunk it was that freaking easy?
Yeah, good game!